Dagisha Mai
Kun lomba chibare
lompa chikpare
ali Israel.
Israel.
Yeah. Ta tombo nga so garzina. Ani ngotsi bala tombo ani susu na chu do ne ru. Ani lekali na kari na tombo susu karlo zombo se ka ta chu ki chu.
Yes.
Tadi ani tombo nga so ta tsama dal tsam chu chi tele ja yi tombo ta konin di penke ta ta teni ta to le yong ke tsama dal ani tsam chu chi tele yo.
So at first, I want to greet you, those who attend in person and those who attend online at Zoom. I want to greet you with Tashi Dele, which is hello in Tibetan.
Tani verso di nede tchit pe gabo joni te na nga so na chu na ne ani so so lemje pindias yori lemje ndias no nga so de tarambol tik to mare tani ko so linde de tigatal pe gabo chanson se
Let it get there.
na tik to de.
Yes, so I want to say that I'm very, very happy that I meet you. It's a very pleasure for me to meet you. And if we are talking like from the perspective of Buddhism, so it's kind of mean that we have a karmic connection, the fact that we meet each other.
What ta te to ta nga so ta tombu to le kar shi na ani ta nga so tsokpa ta mo chute ani ji a so tsokpa ta ka tingo chikre zena ni ton ani nistsani gitda ani chani patarip chal da ani sobat tsir.
Yes, so I want to do at first kind of introduction for our organization or for our group. So a group was established at the date of the 10th of December 2022.
Ani da sobat tsigo muye karre zena ani tanga so ani nachu jong ani maso chapa gushi to supaki ilo momo nachu jong tani ya tsama de nachu te yondi ani ta nachu to ma to janda keri shiwi o mars ti ani tasola keri shiwi che tani keri jong ta tem yi chiris.
Okay, so what is the kind of purpose or the aim of this group organization? So the main purpose is the following. So not the main purpose, but one of the purposes is that so we are kind of a group of geshes, of monks that studied like for so many years Buddhism. And apart from that, we didn't get the opportunity to study like something else, like different languages and so forth. So here, like we are gathering here, and one of the purposes is to study different languages.
Re tatende keri shigo karezena ta terasa ni ngasu na chuta ani serje sota ta zabolet kanga ani tanchi putsugoti ani janda keri to shinaye ani janda nachu mo chuchi ata to ani pento chumuyo ti chitrezi.
So what is the purpose of studying different languages? The purpose is that we can then teach in different languages the Buddhist philosophy.
Otere teni karezena ani tanda ngasu ndi daru sat so teni ani serje to ta nachu jonki mombozi yongur to so leon ani gushi to so pa nachu mo chuchi ani peihlo sal peihlo o tende chini tani tanga so chamal pento chit ani sobat tsirezi.
Yes, so we do it like to benefit everyone because we can see also like based on the people that we see in the Dharamsala that there are a lot of people who have interest in Buddhism. So in order to be able to communicate and teach directly in the language that foreigners are speaking, so we study these languages as well. We try to kind of teach Tibetan, like to people who have interest.
Oteretini ani jarmboche katina ngasul sondiani ta nachu to jonsati ani tsamal nachu pape ko ate nachu to terasani ani tsama ni tsawachimbu jego te yondi tende jego ze de ngasuti ani gomba te jaji ni tani ni tsobat series.
Yes, so therefore like what we do is that we establish this organization based on the wish of His Holiness, which is that he always says that since there are a lot of people who have interest in Buddhism and consider it to be something very precious, so the studying of languages and then being able to spread it like to other people, this is the aim of this organization. Yeah, so this is like the summary of the introduction of our group.
Tani nga tso te nipa tala ani ta nga tso di karaj shig yin zena ta nga tso nachu khile mele ka che umar nga tso mat sama de ando ba ma tu dinga mando ba indi so so mali zle jo mali tal mase mali chaden zle wa to mase ta gandi chini stongo ndu ti ko ma te ani shig yin.
Yes, so therefore the topic or what I'm going to explain today is not something which is related whether we accept Buddhism or not accepting Buddhism. We are going to talk about how to kind of carry your life meaningfully and what is the value of life, because basically everyone are the same in terms of wanting happiness and not wanting suffering.
Teni nga tso di matsel kibo yo al ti le gauge ani zu tala mambo re tazo te jo kuma te shig.
Yes, so in order to have happy life, there are different kind of conditions. So I'm going to talk about that.
Tate on di nga tso malin del le on di matse ga rantang se hose. Nga tso tsame matse ga rantang ha ko na matse ga rantang ha ma ko na ani so so de ki on tu mari.
So all what we have to do is that we need at first to understand what is the value of life. If we cannot understand the value of life, we won't be able to have happy life.
Matse rantang se ate kandi ni go zen so so malin del len sati ani jikte ndal sundu ki rewa to machin ki go resi.
Yeah, so okay, what is this kind of value of life? So we can understand it in the following way. So we kind of obtain this physical basis of a human, the physical basis of a human, and then what we need is to be someone who doesn't have a kind of, is not being despaired, or not being despaired by should I explain, like someone who have like the wish like to live, like someone who have like this wish like to live and to carry on his life. Like we need to be someone like that who doesn't being discouraged, like not having this wish to live and so forth.
What ta rea mache pazeta so so ladi ani mali le jati tagaz de tandi kacha mari rea mache pazeta la ani lisim ni kinandi simlengi part rea mache pazeta ni deki yo gorisi.
Yeah, so what does it mean, like not being discouraged, like not losing the hope of living? It doesn't mean just like kind of live and like just live as we do and so forth. It means that among the body and the mind, so we have to not being discouraged like by the mind.
Otandi tate ondi ani chondo kirea mache pasena ani karsi tendi so so tendo krea mena ani so so sombo dena ya ani mutsel nimbo yo marisi.
Yes, so when we are talking about not losing the hope of living, so it means that, for example, if someone kind of losing the hope of living, but still kind of living, like physically living, it's kind of losing the meaning or like the essence of living.
Penani zonkan ka zomba na shiris zonkan ka zomba zonkan ka chuni dendo yo ma ani dendo yo ma ani kibo chuni mira ta dendo mi aso ani jitindal dendo mena zomba na ani simple de yo to maris.
So for example, if we are discouraged and we just like kind of live in this world, but actually we don't have the wish to live, like we don't want to live, so it's just like as if we are in prison and we don't want to live, we don't want like to stay in prison, and we just stay in prison. So this is like what's happening if we kind of lose this hope or being discouraged and still living.
Ani chondo kirewa zeatiyo rab yenna lise nika detang gore te mayin simlingi parta deayo goresi.
Yes, so when we're talking about not like losing the hope of, or like not being discouraged by means of living, so what we need to put more emphasis on is that among like the body and the mind, so among these two, we must have at least happiness of mind.
Ani sevla ani dekemena pena ani lila ani longchut so zignamba ta ani japanjo katsu yona ya ani sevla dekemena pena ani jitchimbo ta tande ani kerachimbo so rasop chindo ndosi te ani karjena sevla dekembe bidani ani so machindil dendo meresi.
Yeah, so for example, what is going to happen if you're not going to have Happiness of mind. So we can take, for example, people who are very, very rich, who have a lot of very, very affluent, and people who have like very good physical appearance and very good economical state and so forth. But still, among these people, there are those who kind of suicide, right? So this is kind of a sign that these people don't have happiness of mind.
tasola ni lila kanga mena simla dia mesipiko masindala dendo merisi.
Yes, so though they don't have physical problems, still they don't have happiness of the mind, and therefore they don't have the wish to continue to live.
Ani lila dia mena yang simla do dekiyona ani soso masekibos kito resi.
Yeah, but if though someone doesn't have someone have like a bad physical condition and physical problems, but he has a happy mind, so one will want to keep living.
Oye pena ani matso gengo chani lo jache gupchel le change to so simla dekiyo to so tanda koso de sami sambatani do ma kibochini de sami taso lo karjena ani li te se geni tani ani devashita yo martena simla dinga mes koso dendu yores.
Yeah, so we can take, for example, these old people, though like the physical condition is kind of being degenerated and so forth, they still have, like those who which have like happy mind, they still have the wish like to continue living, and they don't think to themselves, oh, like it will be better if I won't live. The reason is that though their body is degenerate and their physical condition is not so good, they still have a happy mind, and therefore like they still want to live.
Tangazo soso mase de kibozi kiala liseni ka rabiena liseni ka deta ingo temena semla ngi partani de ki yugodi maso semla de ki kande china yungundu te ani motochi.
Yes, so in therefore to have a happy life, it will be the best, of course, that if we'll have both body and if we'll have both like physical well-being and both like mental well-being. But if we cannot have both, the one that we must have is we need to have mental well-being among these. So now we are going to talk about what kind of conditions we need to have in order to gain this kind of mental well-being.
Tala semla dechit ani dewa yungita ni gechi sutala ani chanoni kani jacha denche the semla rali risi. Chulito nanga semni kan nanga semla rali risi. Dechit ni dechi yola gechi gechi so
Yes, so now we are going to talk about what are the what we call the obstacle for happiness. So the obstacle for happiness, so among the body and the mind, they are most dependent on the mind. We can say, like if we kind of say a percentage, 70% like the obstacle for happiness are coming dependent on the mind, from the mind.
Tengechi tombo de garzena ani soso chibu sambi lot raching zinji lot division then hajang and dressing chibu ta pakital yando do ngai do person dressing hajang chimbu then in docha control ngarjer chato temu shikchiwa ani choshimi tabjet tangaso semgu dechi kungechi tsubu sorezi.
Yes, so now we are going to talk about what exactly are the main obstacles for having a happiness. So the main obstacles is at first the self-centered attitude, like focusing too much on the self in terms of cherishing too much the self. This is the first one. The second one is the competitive mind, having a very competitive mind. The third one is attachment. The fourth one is anger. And then we can talk about also arrogance, also ignorance, as well as jealousy and not being contented. All these are the obstacles for happiness.
Tate on the tatombo gato suute any soso chipo sabi rochi zengi lote. Tangaso de kiomo chinki su chiktari, te on the tetema, animo trusiji.
Yes, so among these, we said like that one very, very central one, very main obstacle is that self-centered attitude that thinks only about myself. So now I'm going to talk about a bit this one.
Ani ta Raching the Jilos at the Yellow Dance at the touching Garzena, and it's so she was a change of goes and the negative so Peter's change of goes and Mother Gores. The Garzetta Chetoma is so chibo.
Yes, so what is this kind of self-cherishing attitude? We can think of it in terms of that one is really want to kind of accomplish a certain thing or kind of to succeed in a certain work or certain task that he has, but he thinks that he can do it like all by himself.
The Rachipo today, any Zadeki, any Kazatiga, any Kayuna, Kutsopa, the Kayuna, so Ketcha Handu Kit, the Matsona Leone, pay any Yara Chit, they get this Chanduris.
Yes, so if one having like this kind of attitude or very like a self-cherishing attitude, so if one is living in a society, what will happen is that he will kind of get distant from everyone in the society. He will become very lonely.
Then in Matsamal, Teddy Matsama, Koliapumatani, Sozo, Sim, Makit, and his social dingers, Teddy Penati, Rachipo, something is Zamazane, Zama Yashotel Tombo, Konya, Desa in the Desa Yashotel Kotegri. Any coro kept some carry on the dama, was Ranginica sounded to go, you maris. They call Dinger check the race.
Yes, so what will happen to such a person is that he won't be happy and he will only face suffering. And the reason is that, so what will happen is that whatever kind of situation, he will always prioritize himself at first, whether it's like kind of getting food, so he will be the one that will get like the best food or like will get first like the food. Or whether it's like any kind of other thing that other people want, so he won't think about the society and the people around himself and only like think about himself, oh, I need it, I will get it first, and so forth. So he doesn't have at all this kind of thinking which consider also like the self apart from him. And therefore what's going to happen is that this person won't be able to generate a sense of happiness in his mind.
Any Matsonanga Pena Lobrat Sonalila Teon during Mazo attending Mazo Soba Mangai Midnight Tinam Tindestiona, Te Mokanga Gabo Machiata, Koro Mojanda Tape, Jaras and Brujata, any Koro Yasim Machit and Dichi Theatre, Samaga, any Yango, Shigris, Teon and the Lord the Soul, Niberta, and Yazaza Chikuris, Tegisol Dingatia Mato, they are your two Maris.
Yes, so we can also talk about these things from our experience. So we can all see from our experience how this kind of, when for example, when we are in a group or in school or whatever, even if we are only 5 people, and among these 5 people there is one which have like this kind of self-cherishing attitude, which only focuses on himself, what will happen is that the other people, they won't like him at all and they will get very distant from him. And what will happen is that everyone won't be happy in this situation when there is one people like this in the group who has like this kind of strong attitude. So therefore this is something that we can say from our experience, we can see it. And if someone have this kind of attitude, so it's going to bring in only a different kind of problems. So therefore we need to be very kind of careful, like not generating these attitudes.
They on the Tatong in the Sobat, Chetongazo, any Kariana Sosu, Lekalis at the Lakans and Sopazin, and also Samati Tindit, not Tingoyeti, Tendinal, Groikati, Soso Tombu, Lekalia, Jigikati, Kerlon, Nibert, Yabos Kerkurit, and it's also Chibuchuri.
Yes, so therefore we are all in different kind of groups, right? So, and we all depend on the different kind of circles and groups that we are involved in. So what we need to do is that before we kind of enter like this kind of groups or circles, or before we kind of getting involved with other people, one very important thing is that we'll generate a very good intention, very good motivation, and then having this very good motivation, we'll be able to carry a very happy way of living.
But in the Tatandi Kerlon Candicini Kerkurzina, and it's Sobat Kananzanaya, Sopata, Soso Rasinikal, keep it Sopal, and Pentop Garand. Tell su sound town. Data robot sul to go out. And it's about Rajinigal, and it's Jantasole, so to Chipari, and it's Hamalanga to Leka Yaposicena, Sobat Yajindore, and it's also a pentopore, Jala Pentori, to Salo the Canindona, and it's also Sobat in our Denaye, Jerombo Niata, Tinanga Matusol, Social in Chambuchin, Social Dichi, Jungurese.
Yes, so what we need to do, what kind of motivation we need to generate before entering like any kind of organization or group, is that when we enter like a certain circle or group, is that we need to have the motivation which and the thought and the intention which thinks, oh, I'm dependent on the people around me. Like their happiness is important just like my happiness is important. I want like to benefit the people around me. And then if we have like this kind of intention, then we'll do the work very well, whatever kind of task or work or mission that we are doing. So it's going to be very successful and also it's going to be very beneficial for the other people. And then we'll be able to keep being involved in this kind of circle or group for a long time without any problems in the situation that both of the sides are being benefited.
Ote indi daga so chileka aso mazkle li len sa ti tsama leka len khala zama za go indi ni ti tsoba to sol tsoba le pento ta so so de sa ti tsoba le pento o to sol sa lo tani leka lena ni kisho te indi aso ni ta kanga tel matsu chi ko re tani so so rashi ni kala de ta ti to yo to re ani chi bo ma sa chi go rashi bo to ne jan tyo ni sa no ma ta na tani so so mo kaso mo bo yo na mo so ja cha ka na ni so so chi bo ke cha lang do ngi mo so ko le ta ding mo so ta rong bo de cha ni ani so so pa na sha lang do na sem ba mi ni so so ding az ma to ani so ba le pen to ko ma ri le ka yo bo ma le ko da chi ni se ko ma ten do ten di a cha ma ko ti on di ani te ra shi ni ka sa lo ta ko de ha jeng so so le dia jo che ki chi mo zre si.
Yes, so therefore, like this kind of attitude, which think both of like the other, is very, very important and very, very precious because this is what we can identify as the source of happiness or as the source of benefit. So if you are going to enter a certain group or circle, and we are going to have like the wish to benefit the people around me, like understanding that I'm dependent on the organization and the group around me, so the result is going to be a good one for both for me and both for the other people. But if what I'm going to do instead is just thinking about me and not considering the other people around me, so even if the group is consisted of 100 people and there are a lot of people in the group, still I'll feel very, very lonely. And at the end of the day, I'll just go back to my room and I won't be happy. I'll feel very lonely. All the people will want to be kind of distant from me and not want to kind of relate to me. This is what's going to happen if you are going to have this kind of self-cherishing attitude.
Ote indi ta je le pen to che to sa lo ta ni de so so le ka chong chong de le de na ani ja sab de so so pa chong chong chak ra chi je ze lo de pa ani shi chong re lo de mat so ya ko ni jam bu che pe na ani ma ke ta chim bu lo ji de yo sa ma shat sa na ya ani to so lo ji ma lo de so so ani sim na so kan de ani ku pa che ji to sa lo ta to so kanga jumping ani leka chenge chong chong re no rando chibu chenge ga ni ma ke ta chumbu le ji lo ma to so le te shatsa na ko pe ani ma le dia chi chi ke ten de pen do re so 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 bi chon le ta so so ani dia yo te ten de ri.
Yes, so what will happen is that if we kind of day by day we'll have this intention to benefit other people, we'll have this intention to help other people and be kind to other people, what will happen is that slowly, this self-cherishing attitude is going to be decreased. And then we're going to be more happy and the other people around us will be more happy. And we can also see like how people will appreciate people who are much more other focused rather than those who are self-focused. So for example, if there is a person that during his life was really someone who considered other people and cherished like the other people around him instead of just cherishing himself, even though after he's dying and he's not living anymore, still his kind of life story, like when people read it, so they are being very, very inspired and kind of consider this person to be very, very, very valuable one and very, very a good one, someone like kind of to look as an example. So this is like kind of happens when people are actually cherishing like other people rather than themselves, because those who cherish only themselves after they die, like they are not being kind of very, very valued or cherished like by other people, like looking at like what they're doing in life and like by kind of being inspired. It's not like this, right? So even though one is dying, still after his death, like by the force of the positive deeds that he did in this life, he can still bring happiness to other people, even though he already dead.
어때 이 마담 게라 친구들서 로지서 말로니 제스케서 잡지 마마를 잡지 본게 근데 자세히 요사 장장 로지마도 소소치부 근데 제장게 아니 뭐 로지마도 되니 아주 떠서라니 살로 땅고 다진 기지.
Yes, so we really need, it's very, very important that we'll think about this kind of life stories of this person, because these life stories of this person that were really, really a kind of altruistic attitude that only thought of benefiting other people, we still kind of look at them like with kind of admiration and kind of getting inspiring from them, because those are people that doing this life, so what they did is only kind of to think about the society, to think about their friends and their surroundings, and thinking about how they can benefit them. And these are not people that just only thought about themselves and only kind of a centered focus and kind of carry their life like in this way.
Te on dinga so jen chongcho lo pasan lo tani tani ni lekale den rangini kal pendo chisho te to ko yungo. Tani jen chongcho lo san lo tani so the pe chorin do ni tani. Pe ni dinga so pe chorin do pe chobo chobo.
Yes, so if you are going to think about other people, what is going to happen is that our suffering and our problems will slowly will decrease, and we are going to have a very, very happy life.
Te on di. Ta so chibo te jinza jena ngaro chigo janla mate ngaro samni tende seten. Amma na je chpen amma na je chparis. Armal je chpate ma na zig tet jabna tet normal ni chapshe gyoni so pakse je tende on. So ani chibo samten mag so tet chigla bond so jani pe konrot so la ngori teni so dinga ma to yo.
So what is going to happen is that if you are going to have like very self-cherishing attitude, is that we are going to become like a wound. In what sense we are going to become like a wound? We are going to become like a wound in the sense that if someone is going to say like just a very, very little thing that is going to disturb us or going to be uncomfortable for us, or like someone else like will do something which is not exactly due to how we want things to be, it's just like when you touch a wound and you kind of getting kind of squeezed like or being very, very hurt from it. We are going to become like a wound, being super affected from everything that the people around us are doing and getting hurt very, very easily. So what is going to happen to people like this is that they are going to experience nothing but suffering. Yes, so this is kind of a presentation of the self-cherishing attitude. And what I'm saying, so you should count only on me. You should also check by yourself and by your experience, like how is this kind of self-cherishing attitude is working, like what is the effects and how it impacts like the well-being and so forth. Yes, so we kind of presented a lot of different obstacles for happiness, right? But we don't have the time to discuss about all of them. So what I'm going to talk about now is the obstacle of kind of being angry. So the obstacles are for happiness, right? Yes, so what is anger? Anger is something which makes also both oneself and other unhappy, and this is a very, very kind of main disturbing emotion or mental affliction. So what is the manner in which this kind of anger is being arising? So it has three kind of different focal objects, the anger.
Ani soso jela ani nasat dingan jawat tal chimuni ya kontrol chichim ani ti dinga ke jet tal teni taksam dal teni kontrol chichide horis.
Yes, so we said like that there is kind of like three different objects, or we can call also like three different causes. So the first cause is the someone that we don't like. This is like the first focal object, someone that we don't like, kind of our enemy. This is the first. The second one is having suffering, like whether it's kind of mental or physical suffering. This is the second one, suffering. And the third one is being generated based on the cause of the suffering that we have. So these three.
대원데 다 아니 소소 자울 때니다 콘도키야 소소 하고라 맞아 사마티 소소 먹가사기 먹을 때니 때 맞아 사만도 시점 다 등을제도 소소 나사 소리 나사 땅아 아니 때 소소 때니 나윈도 산이 페탈 때니 때니 소소 컨트롤링도 대하군도 다 때니 페나 아니 콘 단데 등은 정사기 제제니 페나 챈들 그 소장나 쳇들 컨트롤자그라 아니 집파지 코치장나 집팔 컨트롤자 so
yes, so now we are going to talk about these three kind of causes, or the three bases based on which upon we are going to generate anger. So the first one, we don't need to explain it very much, right? We all can know it by experience. If we encounter with someone we don't like or kind of our enemy, like very immediately we have the experience of getting angry. So this is the first one. The second one is that whether we have like some kind of pain or we are going to have some kind of suffering, we are going to get angry that we have like this pain or suffering by this kind of situation, uncomfortable situation that we have. So this is the second one. And the third one, we can give the example of a dog that is biting us. So he's biting us and then we have pain and suffering, right? And the cause of the suffering in this case is the dog. So we are going to get angry with the dog that he bite us and that he kind of made us feel suffer. And as well, if someone is going to hit us with a stick, so we are going to have suffering and pain, and we are going to get angry on the stick or the someone that hit us. Yes, so now you can also kind of examine by yourself. Do you generate anger based on things which are not these three? Like, do you have like other causes for anger which are not included in these three causes? This is something that you can reflect on by your own. And if you are going to talk about from the Buddhist perspective, from the scriptures, from what's within the scriptures, so this is the presentation of the three causes. Yes, so what we call anger to that which has the aspect of a kind of not being able to bear, like not being patient, not being able to bear the situation based on focusing on each one, whichever of these three. Yes, so we actually really need to be careful with the anger because it's going to bring us only suffering. So what kind of different problems the anger is bringing us? So at first, it's going to make both ourselves and others unhappy, the situation of getting angry. And then what is going to happen as a result of that is that we are going not to be harmonious like with the people around us. We are going to be unharmonious. And other things, like if you are talking with the physical aspects, so it's going to kind of turn our body getting old much faster, as well as bring like different kind of pains and illnesses to our body. So these are the different types of problems and suffering that the anger is bringing. And therefore, we should be very, very careful. So now, when we kind of identified what is the anger exactly, now we're going to talk about what are the antidotes that we need to apply for anger. Yes, so now we are going to see like what exactly we need to think in order to counteract the anger, in order to remedy the anger. Because what's happening is that when someone is getting angry, so it's not the person himself which is like the motivator of the different actions that one is doing while he's angry. What is going to motivate? Like the different action, like the different bad action. For example, if some person is fighting with his friend and so forth. So what is kind of the cause of this fight is not the person itself, but the anger that is arising in one person continue, and then by this anger, his mind is kind of being disturbed. Being disturbed, he's going to start doing like so many random negative things. So the cause of it is basically the anger. It's not like the person itself.
Pena nga zo ni nyomba zika sozol chikshigna kondo shita zaga mdosi. Te mazai jemse kare. Ta ku simtik zaresi. Ni ko nyomba resa soso salo te chigndosi.
Yeah, so for example, if we take for example a mad person, some kind of mad person, if he's going to throw a stone on someone, what we are going to think? We're going to think, oh, like this person, he's being controlled by his anger, or like by his kind of mental illness. So since he have like being controlled by his mental illness, we won't get angry with him, right? We'll be able to kind of being understanding towards this person.
Nyomba makezi kola shigna ko control rangandosi. Zagra. Nyomba makezi ko ngala chishina nga control zagra.
Yeah, but if someone who is not kind of mad person is going to harm me, so I'm going to be angry with him, right?
Te pawshok te shigwa karre. Pawshok te jeka control sim dikchate. Ani ko rami pazoni tani. Tiga shigre no ko matigi taga shigja nyomari. Nyomba pajno sari. Tada nyomba mangketeris. Nyomba tala ngaso control zagmodo. Zadi ko nyochete simchik sari sami ngaso ta hakora. Ta nyomba mangezi ngaso la shigna control zagra. Zagra yenaya ani matal rami ti ku jega control ti zote go no matigi zonjok marisi.
Tende sangora. Yeah, so actually the situation is that when the other person is going to harm us, if you are talking about person which is not mad or something, or has like kind of a mental illness, when this other person is harming us, the real situation is that it's not because of the person that is harming us, but because of being possessed, like being controlled by the anger. He doesn't have actually kind of any control over his action because he's being overpowered by his anger. And therefore he's doing these things. Actually the situation is that.
Ta ngaso karte chagbo ngaso karte ka chakade matal karte chan matal pashi jakoris. Te chagayo mar ngato karte chasangone kuje control karte chakoris.
So actually the thing that we actually really need to counteract is not the person itself that is going to harm us or that is going to throw stones at us and so forth. What we actually need to counteract and to put remedy towards is the anger inside the person, not the person himself.
The control the color Jean ni Ramidi, Nala Shignorasan, Salot Tani Zopa Gomjana, any partial that village on the Suzo Mal village, any control to maybe Chinese. Nyumba Nonja, Nyumba the Salot Tantona.
Yes, so if we can actually look at the other person who is harming us and is being like possessed by the anger, doesn't have any control over his action, if we can see that person just like a mad person, just like someone who has like kind of a mental illness, if we can see that person like that, so what we can do is that we can start gaining a sense of patience. And when we gain a sense of patience, slowly we can relax, the other side also can relax, and then the problem will slowly be solved.
What that the control that the maso karte chapter any teacher ketamas social shigna or that the metalinga tolang kuja control the in a kuja control the course young just control the matamari. Any tate cartene tate Jean Zopa Jean the partial de Lulu Chasos, a carte chaton de Genipa, any Suzuki control the Emma. And in Jamchi Suzoya, Salot Tatan Suzuki control the Manchandro, Pajot the layer. Nico Katik Malam, the Parliament Jabro, the control Kati, Nija control Kati Chanti.
Yes, so what will happen is that if we can, at the moment of someone is going to bring harm on us, if we can think that, oh, actually he's just under the power of his mental affliction, he's just by the power of his anger. If we can think that way, so therefore we can, based on that, generate a sense of patience. If we generate a sense of patience, so we can slowly kind of overcome the anger, we can eliminate the anger, then be much more relaxed. And it's going to not only kind of counteract our anger towards this person, but it's going also to be helpful towards the other person in kind of soothing down his anger. And then the situation will be solved.
So Samangar Sunyam Hakuri, and it is Salutanguri. 아니 그리고 왔다 달라.
Yeah, so yeah,
control down 아니 ngajer chato do chatsu 아니 니모 싸웠 아니 가솔 아니 대한 종게 수종게 고소인데 고소 jel식 치부 제식 치부데 control 수진 소소 control 자파 아니 카 dombat 소마 부차 아니 아니 소소 롱파 나츠츠 던데지니 아니 소소 무세 파초라 다야 아니 무츠파나리 엔드로네 야 소소 치부 차로 살람먼템 어떤데지티 තසෝ는 가서 자자 치고 다진 키치고.
Yes, so we can think of this kind of shortcomings, of this anger, also about other kind of disturbing emotions or mental afflictions, right? Whether we are talking about anger, whether we are talking about jealousy, whether we are talking about arrogance, whether we are talking about attachment, what is going to happen is if these emotions are going to being generated in our mental continuum, what is going to happen is the following. So also we won't be able to be happy while having these emotions and mental afflictions in our mind. What is also going to happen is that things that we can also validate and see by our experience. So we are not going to be harmonious with the people around us. We are going to kind of get old much quickly. We are going to have different kind of illnesses and aches and pains in the body. We are going to have like very red face, like when we get angry or having like this kind of disturbing emotions, our face are going to become red. Our life, as well as the lives of the people around us, are going to kind of being destroyed or get ruined, like due to the impact of the disturbing emotions that we have. And also, we are going to be very, very lonely in the society. We are going to stay very lonely due to these disturbing emotions that we have in our mental continuum. So these are the different kind of shortcomings of these mental afflictions. Yeah, so if we'll be able to kind of identify this kind of disturbing emotions and their shortcomings, so we'll be able to carry our life very, very happily. So we can also compare this kind of disturbing emotions just like to different kind of physical illnesses. So for example, if there is a physical illness and we are not going to take care of it or going to treat it properly, so what's going to happen is it's going to destroy our body, right? So just like the physical illness can destroy our body, this is the same with anger and all these kind of disturbing emotions. If you are not going to be careful with them and not going to kind of put the remedy in order to counteract them, so what's going to happen is that it's going to destroy our happiness and going to also ruin like the well-being of our life and everything that we have and possess.
Jando the Dena Rondo the Shik Leon. Any Janda Sama and Salo Tantena, Suzum Sichibu, Tamato, Josoya, and in Yamio Yukireta, Tajima in a cassette and the Takitan, Kandi do some with any Susu, Takitan is associated the ranching to the Talmud.
Yes, so basically we all need to think about ourselves, right? Like we all need this kind of thought which is kind of concerned about our own well-being, right? But what we don't need is that they only think about ourselves. This is kind of a difference that we need to make. We need to think about ourselves, but what we don't need is only to think about ourselves. Because what is going to happen is that if we are going to try to accomplish others' well-being or others' kind of happiness and the things that they want, so by the way, or kind of by the force of that, we're going also to accomplish our kind of well-being and our own happiness, if you are going to focus about other people's happiness. And these are things that we need to kind of validate and to identify by our own experience. So now we are talking about these things, and later what you can do is to actually look like from your own experience and to see like whether it's right or wrong. These are things that you can examine yourself, like whether what we are talking about now is true or not.
Not handing the church legend. So this is so much at church lady. Try you not to acknowledge.
Yes, so therefore, since like most of the time of the class should be a kind of Q&A session, so now we are going to make time for questions. So if you have any questions, please bring.
Yes, it sounds a bit simplified. It's like very simplified do's and don'ts, but it kind of misses the bottom questions. I feel like, who is this mind that gets afflicted? Yeah.
Da, quindi siamo per la carriera esterna, te cirtane, kandes lavora. Te kechate, te pris, kandes tab deta gire. Yani sena te che, tan mache kyan, te kechare mato, te kandes lavora tele, te ting ringwe tiwa, te perna nye, nyomon pesem, te karein, te kandes nozin chego yom, te Nasıl ngazin çegi metsan, tepkis kako çegi resa. Tene anşinsiniz.
Kariya, yavuz.
Like, I'll just try to understand like your question. So you're saying like that this is not getting like to the root of what we actually need to.
Yes, this is like treating the, like the anger issue or the.
Like not treating like the root cause, you mean?
I think like.
Yeah. This is like kind of the symptoms, but not the root cause, you mean?
It's very, it's simplistic. Like it feels more like a treatment of the like symptoms. I think.
That's all. Ani kongi sampara te kapte chaktante te neta te perna neta gerpa. And te neta kiampa la kapte chaktan remato te kandes lavore te nyomon gitsawa tankan gitsawa la kapte chaktan chagimare sambiores.
Neta ani tate kare aso karjena photo control zada ni te ko control gon son de sani salutani zoba gumjana ni nimo ko control karti chakdo. Control shikchumuri tagade taso so jela pena ani nende chini ko control go ngala chishina ni pas chishina ku jela control te yamba ni je control ni sha yamba kara ni nge mashi ni tane ko zoba goni ani bomba manso ze ani zene pa lama to ne ko jaje pandro jana suzu je ko control te yamba kandita ani pakomendo paso je ko control te yamba re ta pakoma karse mambana ni mul karti chaksari.
Yes, so we can think about it in that way. So like whether it's actually kind of counteracting like the problem itself or not. So let's take the example again of other person who is going to try to harm us or going to try to damage us and these kind of things. So if the person, if he's going to try to harm us, like by the power of his anger, we are going to harm him like back, and we are going like to kind of fight like with each other and so forth. So we can see like whether it's something that is going to increase the anger in both of the sides or not, right? So what is going to happen in this situation is that the anger in both of the sides are going to be increased, right? But if instead what will happen is just like as we explained, so the anger is, so we are going to try to counteract or to remedy the anger by means of when the other person is going to harm me or going to inflict harm upon me, I'm going to kind of start to gain a sense of patience and then to soothe down the anger. And then even if we cannot say like sorry like for the other person, we are just going to kind of try to step back from the situation. What is going to happen is that we can see like whether the anger is going to be eliminated within ourselves as well with the other person. If the situation is that if we are kind of applying this method of gaining patience by gaining understanding towards the other person, understanding that he's also like being controlled by the power of the anger and so forth. So if this kind of method that we talked about is going to eliminate the anger within ourselves and within the other person, so we can say that this is kind of a valid way to eliminate the anger, right?
Oh, the Kozial Karzena, Nimo Kartech, and Jigini Nimusani, teaching me, and it is a tumors, any. Asozoto Mariati, Dezoal, chance with the Nishimoto Govni to Nichigurta. In a sozo Katik Komputs Palmachina, and Isozola Pento, Malaya Pento, samal pendo yorisi.
Yes, so, but if you are talking about the sense that just by kind of remedying or kind of counteracting this anger, so we are going to eliminate from the root all this kind of disturbing emotions, so of course it's not like that, right? Because in order to eliminate the root, eliminate the afflictions from its root, so we'll need to apply other things such as compassion and bodhicitta mind and so forth. So these things like can actually deal with the root of the disturbing emotions. And yeah, but if you are talking only about the context of anger and the antidotes for anger, so if you apply this kind of different antidotes that we are talking about, so it's going to benefit both ourselves, both the other person, in terms of kind of living down, soothing or eliminating the anger.
어제 다가서 님모 rappatsu 같이 적동도 던지는 아니 님모 차도 다가서 단데 작동 말 아니 텔레 아니 돈이 셰르도 찬셈도 소모모 고고 텐디 베나 아니 소소고치 아니 세가서 주니 도다 마즐 잡서 나서 곰바만 수제데 코트저도 파저도 페시비지니 다니 텐디 창롱도 티온디 tsu kangata aso nimmo rapat sun pa khatich ani chaka malendo jana pa jot tron ani che do na shi tene che de ani so pe tene che ni so pa non chicken so pa ani gonda je jagat so no pe kichmurezi.
Yeah, so basically now we are talking more about the context of the kind of course or the course level of the disturbing emotions and the mental afflictions, like the antidotes of like how to eliminate anger and so forth. But if you are going to talk about the very subtle kind of disturbing emotions and the mental afflictions, so these are things that need to be dealt by means of applying methods such as generating the mind of bodhicitta, meditating on emptiness and so forth. These are methods that can actually kind of cut from the root the disturbing emotions and the mental afflictions. So we need to do like this kind of distinctions. But actually, if you can apply these different methods, like with regards to anger, just as we explained today, of gaining patience, of kind of generating sense of patience, and also when someone is going to harm us, trying to admit one's own mistake that one has done, and trying to kind of say sorry if one has done any kind of mistake. These are methods that can help in terms of eliminating anger and all of these kind of problems. But we need to remember like the distinction of the cause disturbing emotions and the antidotes for them that can actually eliminate them, and the root of the disturbing emotions and the subtle disturbing emotions that need to be dealt by the different means, as we explained.
Ni kati kono chicheni kati chega malani ona ko donda shitere de sozo kondo shala lente tandati kondo dia bangi ngala do shisons entende kondo sozo lande tazo kanga sozo lidinga tsugori te ko tombo ni konde jeja pe yashurisi.
Yes, so we can actually, these are things that we can actually think of our own experience, right? Because if someone is going to harm us or going to say bad things to us, going to hit us and so forth, and if you are just going to bring back, just going to try to revenge like what he did to us, so what is going to happen is that we are going to come back to our room and be very, very kind of still angry or like still very agitated from the situation that happened. But if what is going to happen is that the other person is going to harm us, is going to beat us, whatever, and we can ourselves, we can try to acknowledge any fault or any mistake that we did and try to ask sorry for this kind of thing. So it's going to make also the other side kind of is going to kind of soothe down like the disturbing emotion of the other side, both of our side, and then we can come back to our room and be very, very kind of relaxed and not being very agitated or affected from this kind of situation that happened. So do you have any other questions?
You have question.
When we try to take adverse conditions onto the path, like tough situations, and practice through them, and how can we make sure that it doesn't turn into denial, or like how can we avoid, which in my understanding denial is a harmful state of mind. Like how can
Denialism?
Denial.
Denial.
Like how can we
아니
Okay, can I
parmaji
translate?
Yes.
Ani kongitio te carrereserna ta kenge lamker te kapte chaktan shirapa. Ani te pernanga sonyomu te sola kapte chaktan shirapa kenge lamker te. Kenge lamker.
Kenge balantrini.
Kenge pa te lam la kero.
Kenge balantrini
Kenge lamker perna te lama chopena la tendreshik sungirpa.
Kenge lamker.
Kenge lamker.
Zeta lama chopena yori.
Perna sosola kanye shik
Tone.
te kapsu ani te kane sabore te yoktu te manon pache te sosu te kenge patetso lam la kero. Te kane
Soso
sabore
da simul jini do adria. Kenge bat su lam chero tene.
kenge patetso perna te tetso oktu manon pache. Tetso ogla. Tetso ogla mazikache. Te soso kane sabore te deki yongwe tablam la yurshu tangyer.
Yoria.
Rwa.
Ya.
Ani ta kenge lamker serote ani ta kongitio te carreresana te kelsi soso te kenge patetso. Kane sabore te niamlenche la kierdoyona. Ani tsansan la kare chungiore sershupaina. Ta tsansan la te soso kane sabore te la yame tangiore te kane tetso ta kane sabore te kietu segiore. Ani kietu seto te kongi sampala te shita yakwe mare sangir. Te kongi sampala te kane sabore. Like you feel, for example, I'll just try to understand your question. So you say, for example, if you kind of deny your problem, so it's not really kind of solving them, right? It's not going to to eliminate the problems, right?
Yeah, but like when we try to practice in front of our tough situations, what's the difference between taking something difficult and practicing through it and practicing compassion and denying denying anger or denying, like, how can we avoid suppressing emotions and, like, not to suppress but to deal with it in a beneficial way and not in a harmful state of mind.
That's all. Ani perna ngatso kanya ketu. Ani te perna kapte chaktan niyo sar. Chikte te gonon patsamre. Te kane te gonon patsamre.
Yomuchi adria.
Yoni chuyete. Ani te yametanya nashin chagior. Te kane tela. Ani kongi sampala chichena yametanya te tablam shita ya koyo mare sangir.
Karchini.
Gani sena te ijela te chichena yangir.
Yar legri zebe.
Re te gonon patsamre mato. Te me pasa tablam shita chagior mare sangidu te kongi kyo te re sangir. Ani te chokshene te kapte chaktan ngun shik yore. Te ngune kane savare. Te kanela ngune te ngolen chene te kapte chaktan shik yore. Mato te gonon patsam mare. Ani te kandes te ngune te kapte chagore mato te gonon patsam te machepa. Re te kandes
Tanga
te
te
lechegore.
sozol kangar ze kariyona. Ani pena mazika sozol ani katina jari kun tani choni te machi tandir kanga chigura. Abon yora. Mujanda ze sozol katina jari chong go ani ni chang cha sa do ja tandir chini kanga chiguri. Te kanga to dole chela ngaso tanda sozo chiwe ndingo ne batsa mato sa ni me pe choni soto ko mari. Sa ni me pe zo ala ya lam to ni papa ya ndo kurenu. Te zoto mari. Te antondi chance de ni chimut so gomni. Ni ko so ma me pe zo kurenu. Aso sa ni go no patsa mato sa ni so bat amando ni ni to mari. Go no pat ke penge senen go no pat yakshuri tinguris. Go ne denen go denen kale chigne ni ne chigne den parti komjin ni ko yagri ndo re kasi nima chiga te digzin do ni ninga te yore te yena ya ani jasha jate ni yagri ndo ani ma chet jasha ma chet tingu ndo ris.
Yeah, okay, so I'll try to translate and please tell me if I understood the question right. If not, I'll try to translate again because actually it's a bit sometimes hard like to transfer like these things in Tibetan.
Yes.
So maybe then you can ask me once again and we'll try to clarify your question. So for example, I think that I think that kind of trying to only suppress down like this kind of disturbing emotion and the problem, actually this is the best method that we can use. And the reason is that we can only eliminate from the root like this kind of different problems and the different mental afflictions and the suffering that we have only if we actually reach like the paths such as the Arya path, or we can call like the those who like gain like direct understanding of voidness path. This is like the maybe actual meaning of like the Arya path. So only like on these kind of levels that they can actually eliminate the problems from its root. Only in this kind of level. But in our level, what we can do is just kind of to suppress down like this kind of feelings or this kind of problems that we have. Because for example, if someone is going to harm us or someone is going to, or we are kind of encountering any different kind of problem or suffering, what is going to happen is that we won't be able to cut it from the root. We can only use methods in this kind of stage that we are at as beginners to kind of to suppress it down. And of course that in some cases, these problems may arise again. Like if we kind of suppress them down, of course that they can rise once again, but most of the thing is going to happen is, in most of the cases, what is going to happen is that we are going gradually, we are going to develop, we are going to improve. Like we are going to improve our practice in the situation and to decrease the problems that are going to arise. Is this answering your question?
Thank you.
Carincesa.
I think maybe what I meant is, I don't know if this is what you mean by the answer. I'm not sure I understood the answer. If like suppression, I understand is if something comes up to push it away, and sometimes it can come from if anger arises, and I don't want it, I push it away because it's a bad emotion. For me, it can sometimes also come from fear, or if I push something away, it can. It might be also a harmful attitude. Do you understand?
Yeah, I think so. Like you think like it's kind of violent attitude towards yourself and towards like the emotions, and it can like create more problems.
Yes.
Because like you say like that you are kind of motivated by fear, like by fear of like this kind of different emotions that arise in you. And since like that you are like kind of fearful of these emotions, if you kind of try to avert them or to kind of try to eliminate them, like by this kind of fear, is this?
Yeah, like if we try to push something away, it actually violently, it actually doesn't go away. It comes back.
Content dapalason. Da ciritane te cicena te nekerangi gompate hamako atsa minsare te kanisante contaton te cherishing tanson. Ani te kongi tua te carrereserna ta te kongi sampala te kelsi perna nazo nyomo te nazo sengina la nyomo shi chungwaina. Ani te itse kelsi nazo te tsenwan chene te nyomo te par bugia tanta chetaina. Te shita ya po yamare sangere. Te ginsa carrereserna kongi sampala te tampo te soso shenangi kune langne te nyomo te la shenangi ave kune langne te par pogiatanya shi tablon shi gremato te shita kana savare te kuno serna mi doina te soso neta tan sen yakpo chane te kapte chaktan chagimare sangere
karchi Pero kapte chakye te nimore laura Tevatsu kondrun desa pajoti sozo shiwane sozo zopa gomjana sozo ni gondala tende chini tende lavjana sozo zopa se te renu te kondrun mar zopa te nimo mar ni te zopa renu te kate chakye te nimo mar sozo zopa gomjana sozo ni sozo le tinga mena karchona ta kani keyo mar sem pate tene Pasem lolo ichati tomato ni sosul kanga timundo. Ani patingol stroka so laja khagaina sozo muka tanya muka tanya college. Ato tisol tes sal tambata yena ta sozo samlo re yori ni sozo taki tani kandi tana yeshutesi. Yeah.
Yes, so why do you think like that? because, for example, like when we actually try to kind of avert or to eliminate like this kind of disturbing emotions such as anger, so when we use these methods of kind of try to say sorry to the other person or try like to generate patience, so this is not something which is kind of negative, right? Like kind of generating patience and trying to make our mind relax, right? So this is something which is actually kind of the what we kind of try to deal with is the anger itself, right? And if we're dealing with the anger itself with patience and trying to make our mind relax, so what is going to happen is that it's going to bring us a sense of well-being, right? So, but another thing that we should know is that each one has its own kind of attitude and its own kind of way of thinking. So therefore, like we should kind of each one should examine for himself what is working the best for himself. But maybe maybe I can try to ask it once again. And like you said that this is kind of a harmful. You try to avert the disturbing emotion like harmfully, right? Like kind of violently. Like if you see, like for example, the disturbing emotion like enemy, and you try kind of to like just like an enemy, you try to kill it, for example. So you think like that it's not good, right? Like this kind of the method.
I think denial can be dangerous, maybe, I don't know. But if there is a difference between, I think there is cultivating patience and, like you said, like the methods you said, how can we do that without denying our feelings, without becoming numb? Because when we become numb, we can become numb also to the good, also to the positive states of mind. Do you understand? But it's
the numb, I don't really understand like what you're trying to. No, really, please let's try to. What do you mean like by saying numb? Like?
Mainly the difference between is the difference between cultivating patience and dealing it with, as you said, to denying what we are feeling. Is there a difference? Should we give a certain space for an emotion, not to make it bigger and to not in a way that anger is beneficial, but in a way that like not to give it a place in a way that like to act from our anger, but not to
kind of being mindful towards it and seeing it like from the side and just kind of let it be, you mean?
Not even letting it be, but not denying it. If we deny it, it's like there's something violent about denial. It's like pushing it away and
so just to understand, like denying it means for you like not accepting that the anger is actually exists in my mind.
yes.
Okay, so you think like that this is kind of a harmful way to deal with the anger, because
Yeah,
if you
I'm
that
asking,
you kind of
maybe I don't know.
yeah. So you say like that this is kind of a harmful way to deal with the anger, and therefore this is something which maybe cause more harm towards oneself.
Yeah, I don't think that's what you've talked about, but I think that it's dangerous to. I think we can sometimes fall to denial. I don't think cultivating patience towards it is denial, but I'm asking how we can be careful of not falling to that place where it becomes violent.
Ta kongi sampala kanel cheshu te karere serna ta kongi sampala te tsansala te ta tendela rongya ginyan kayere sangere
Karel.
ta la rongya ta la rongsa te karere serna ta te perna te soso sanguinado la contro leviate te soso te contro lepate te ngole machepache te soso sanguinado la contro mepana shi sande yopaina te dis kongi sampala dis nien kasapore sangere te chesan kongi sampala te kelsi soso kanas labore tendre samshintu te sampegone te kapte chaktan shi tende chetap chepaina te yakoy mare sangere
Tagar zen soso konto zer soso ni rando yulo zer meba changro zer urata tere
randamida
ani konto ma zer soso lulo ite tene soso lichi leka meba ndata ani rando meba ndata tene changro zer
mare tende var
tene
gona dis gir kakta ta So perna ta soso sanguinanola contro la vierva.
Re.
Ani kesi soso sanguinanola contro le pece. Te soso sanguinanola contro le patela ngole mache pache. Te la yametta
Tana.
sham doina. Te kongi sampala te nyen katsapore sangir.
Karchi ni gatsirti.
Gani sena kongi sampala kesi soso sanguinanola contro yo pate ngole mache pa te de paina. Ani kongi sampala te soso canos labore perna soso la te noce chagile kashi chagiore sangir.
Karchi kari yorisi. Kondo meba zojana soso nonse kari yori. Titi.
So, okay, my question is, so if one is going to eliminate the anger, so what do you think that the problem, what kind of problem may arise? Is this, because I translated, so like that someone is kind going to harm himself is if one is going to apply a certain antidote towards the anger?
Yeah, no, I think we're misunderstanding. No, I don't think it's harmful to cultivate patience. The antidote is maybe we can leave it like this.
Chichena shasha na digere.
Kyo. Pena matsu dean do pama to dingaman do pa sem sin. Tendo si ne dean do pama to dingaman do pa chujura. Alia. Ondi kondo so me pa so jana dea mato. Dinga nyori indona so yagari do mato. Diri edo.
Yeah, so every sentient beings, we can say like that, also animals and so forth. So everyone like want happiness and don't want suffering, right? And there's something that actually kind of take away our happiness and is going to bring us more suffering. It's the disturbing emotions such as anger, right? So if you're going to eliminate anger, so what is going to happen is that we are going kind of to improve our situation, right? Instead of kind of getting worse. But I think that as you said, maybe it was a bit difficult for...
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, like those online, do you have any question? Oh,
Cool.
Gela, thank you for your teaching. Okay. Barry is saying, Gela, thank you for your teaching today. Thanks for Itamar for your excellent translation. I have to leave now. So, do you have any questions apart from that? Okay, so if you don't have any questions, so we can finish it. Okay, I want to say thank you very much. I was very, very happy to meet you. Yes, so if you keep stay here, like in Dharamshala, so you are more than invited, more than welcome to keep coming here, like on Sundays and so. Yes, well, now you can also like in the next time to ask more questions and maybe we can be more prepared like for next time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, so now we can finish and go.
Thank you to Chichen Angela.
Yuche, thank you.
Thank you.
You'll draw me.
Thank you, Tama. Dantai, I have another class. Xin đại year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Công tác to Chichen,
Yeah.
Deyo.